This video introduces my courses at Seattle Pacific University and also my website, which has a lot of information that you're going to be using during these classes. The classes that I teach at Seattle Pacific University include classes like International Fiction. This is a class where you study 5 novels from 5 countries. It's post-colonial literature, so it's areas that Britain has colonized and now people are resisting and writing back and telling their own stories. Another class that I teach is called Film and Faith. This is how Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are depicted in film. Another class is Middle Eastern literature. I'm also introducing a course on memory and forgetting called Empires of Asia, and this is transnational literature. I also teach 2 classes abroad. So I teach a class in Morocco. It's called Arab Spring, Writing and Resistance. It looks at protest and the ways in which class and gender and generation fit into that uprising towards democracy and how it filters within literature. I also teach a class in South Africa. It's South Africa Literature and Theater, and we go to a theater festival. It's the second biggest theater festival in the world. There are 2,000 performances. They have a film festival, they have lots of theater, they have South African jazz and marketplaces. But in order to take any of these classes, there's sort of a foundation that you need to understand. So what I do in each, because they're cultural studies class, I introduce the idea of a toolbox. So to take my classes, imagine that you're opening up a toolbox, and within the toolbox there are strategies and ideas and conceptions. So the book that I start with in all my classes, it's Performing Democracy in Iraq and South Africa. In the preface of the book, it tells the story of when I first lived in Iraq over 20 years ago, and 15 years ago when I moved to South Africa for 2 years. Those 2 journeys are introduced in the preface, and then out of that came the questions that I ask as a scholar and that I'm going to ask for you to think through and develop in your arguments for the class and in your thesis writing. The introduction looks at various strategies for thinking about culture and resistance and protest, and strategies to think through how we remember atrocity in the past, how we remember things that happen. Now, I remember the first time when I was 21 that I traveled myself. I actually went to Egypt, and I have to be honest and confess here that I went to see the pyramids and ride a camel. Yes, that was the first reason that I traveled. But what I found when I got that, there is just a wealth of history and of people that I had no understanding of. I went to a hotel, there was another 20-year-old there, and he said, "Come to dinner with my family." So me and my girlfriend, we went to this dinner, and then the mother, and she had the black hijab on, calls us, just Patrice and I, into the back, no one else. And I was nervous and uncertain. I go into the kitchen, wondering if I'm going to get cooking instructions or scolded or what's going to happen. And she opens up a Victoria's Secret catalog. And in it, she points to a red lacy bra and says, "How do I get this?" At that moment, I realized everything I knew about the Middle East and the women there was wrong. And at that point, I felt curiosity. I hope that in whatever class that you take from me, there'll be that sense of going on a journey and becoming curious, questioning our assumptions and learning the stories of others. What I'd like to also suggest is that when you take these classes, you'll be reading various chapters in the book, and if you are going to be taking Middle East studies, then you'll look at chapter 2. And this is the workshop that I led with Iraqi refugee women, Hala Hadi and Madar al-Mutawak. And if you double-click on the website, you'll see the Iraqi Voices video, and that gives you a sense of the stories and what we're studying in the class. Also then, if you're studying an African studies class, you can double-click on Kumbulani, which is this Xhosa group that I worked with in South Africa. These were 14 survivors of trauma. They were political prisoners who were tortured during the apartheid regime. And afterwards, they went to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to tell their stories, to be honored for how they suffered in the past. But it wasn't enough for them to just talk about their victimization. They wanted to tell stories of how they survived and fought back, and resisted. And so they asked me to facilitate, along with a trauma center director, a psychologist, Eric Harper, their performance. So if you double click on the Kumbhalani site, then you'll see some of these clips of their performances. What's coming next in this video is a short clip by one of my students, Abby Austin, and this is from the study abroad in Spain and Morocco. And then afterwards, you'll hear different students talking about why travel? Why study cultural studies? What are the challenges involved in it? How can we work towards social justice or cope with the past or move on after so much atrocities? So I look forward to seeing you, either my classes in Seattle or Spain or Morocco or South Africa.